Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the future of the GOP following Republican support in the vote to release the Epstein files. Also tonight, an increase in mosquito activity and potential health concerns for Arizona residents. And a look into an apartment complex made entirely out of shipping containers. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Steve Goldstein filling in for Ted Simons. For months, President Trump denounced calls for the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, but he changed course and encouraged Republicans to back a bill that does otherwise. Today, Congress sent the bill that needs Trump's signature to him to finally release the files. Joining us now is Chuck Coughlin, CEO and President of High Ground. Chuck, good to see you.
Great to see you, Steve.
So, you're a strategist. You've been doing this for decades. What finally made the president change his mind on this?
Duck. When you see the punch being thrown, get out of the way. It was a pretty simple call on his part. He should have done this months ago, right? But he prevailed for whatever reason. Maybe we'll know, maybe we won't know, to try and stop that from happening. But then, you had his Republican. You had Andy Biggs. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene. You had all these people saying, I'm going to vote for it. And that was a foregone conclusion, so get out of the way.
So how short are our memories in the sense that he did hold off for so long, which made people build up their own story, their own narrative, whatever it was, whether he was heavily involved with Epstein, just a little bit, whatever it was, it made people think about this for so long. He seems really savvy in a lot of these ways, and this seems like he completely, messed up.
I was listening to the radio this morning, and the Hotel California came on, and I was like, "You can check out, but you can never leave." He is part of this story. Is going to be part of this story, and it's going to continue to trail him. And we'll see what Miss Bondi does. That's the big question. Is she now going to release all the files, or is she going to say, is there an investigative component here that I have to, keep information back? And who knows? I mean, the Justice Department these days is not calling balls and strikes all the time as they have in the past. So we'll see what happens.
Well, with all the hardliners who are online and doing whatever they're doing to try to keep this alive, if Pam Bondi does not release the entire file, even if she does, who knows, someone online will start speculating. Yeah. Isn't that a dangerous territory as well?
Yeah. No, it's all, it's, Americans hate people, elitists, people of power. There's a long tradition of that. We're watching on Channel 8 today. We're watching the American Revolutionary Experience, which the first few episodes were about all these people who didn't like power, and wanted to assault the crown. Well, this is a fine American tradition. It continues on today, and it will continue on for the next several weeks, if not months.
Okay, so what do you think is behind this being the story? Is it because people are actually concerned about associations with a pedophile and someone who may have had these young women on an island or somewhere, trafficking or however we want to phrase it? Or is it simply because it's scandalous and people talk about it? So I guess we talk about this kind of thing all the time. And you've been in this business a long time and you've undergone some changes yourself. I mean, to be honest, so is this one of those things where people are just sort of, oh, wow, we're going to titter about this and talk about it? Or do people really want to find out what happened?
Well, there's constituencies that drive this. There's treatment of women. There's the predatory sexual trade of women. There's all kinds of celebrity gossip. There's all kinds of accountability groups here. But the nature of what's driving this is the dysfunctionality of our media today and how diffused these media environments are and how somebody can just fuel a narrative through the internet. Why I hate the internet, why I don't go there for my news, but X, YouTube, all of these places where people podcasts, where people get their news these days, and it just fuels the constant drive of this discussion. I think John Steinbeck said, you have ideas are like rabbits. You get a couple of them, and then there's a lot of them there, and this is part of that problem.
Yeah, and online you don't really need to prove anything. You can just make accusations.
Just throw it out there.
Well, you mentioned the idea that this may or may not stick with us and be out in the public. So we have an election year next year. I don't know if you've heard about it. And there's going to be a lot of discussion about this kind of thing. I go back to the short memory question again. Is this something that, even if all the files are released, is it happening early enough in the cycle so that we won't hear a lot about it next spring, next fall, whatever?
I think what we're seeing right now, and people are speculating, is this the first factionalizing of the MAGA movement itself? I think that's the thing what we should watch. That's 40% of the electorate is identified as MAGA, and that has been a very unified electoral force, particularly in Republican primary politics. And if you see that fractionalize, is that a sign of a weakening of a Trump brand in a Republican primary? Does that create another rebel cause within the Republican primary constituency where you could drive candidates without Trump's endorsement? Today, it's very difficult to win a Republican primary without a Trump endorsement. Does this create more air in that room? That's what I think everybody should be watching.
So what are you seeing as far as approval numbers right now? It seems like President Trump is still very popular with Republicans. Will that change if there's more information from these files?
That's the question. That he's at an all-time low across the board. He still does pretty well with Republicans. But that's the big question. Is this going to be the thing that drives a Republican narrative and a division within that MAGA movement? And that's the thing we all should be paying attention to see if he can come back from this and deal with this, if other message points, if other things that he can talk about help bring people back together again. Or, one of the things that they're upset about is all his focus on, foreign affairs and having the crown prince and doing business deals from the White House. These are the types of things that traditionally cause fractionalization within a Republican primary audience.
Two more questions for you. One, he has been very successful in a lot of ways. He's not quite the Teflon president. That's what Reagan was called, right?
Yeah.
But he's good at deflecting. Is he going to be able to spin this in some way so that it hurts certain Democrats?
He's the master of it, right? I mean, he's a reality television star in the White House that it's his choreography of what the country is talking about. And that's his frustration here. He doesn't want to talk about this anymore. So now he's made the decision, let's try and put this behind us so he can get back to choreographing the national narrative. Let's see if that can happen.
All right, you're not Nostradamus. I'm not going to ask you to get out the crystal ball. But if, in fact, we move the Epstein stuff to the side, not that it's not important, not that it's not important to figure out who is connected to this and why, frankly. But it seems like, and I'm going to sound very naive here, it seems like Americans do want solutions to certain things. Public safety, inflation, housing affordability, all these things which one would think people in Washington would work on. Exactly. Yeah. Generally the economy. So if the Epstein files moves to the side with the release of them, is it possible we see a little bit more pragmatism in Congress, whether this is a Republican plan for health care that other people don't like? Are we going to start seeing some plans that might actually affect people's lives?
I could see the next big thing being the Supreme Court's going to rule on the tariffs. The tariffs, I believe they're going to rule them unconstitutional. I believe he's going to let them keep the money. And what do you do with that money? Because I know what he wants to do. Yeah. He wants to send checks to everybody. I believe that would not be the fiscally conservative thing to do. That would be buy down the budget deficit, bring that down. That's the next big focal point on domestic policy. If the Supreme Court does that I think will create a trend line of discussion and a potentially additional fracturing of the Republican base.
Okay. Chuck Coughlin, great to see you. Thanks as always.
Don't hold me to that, though.
I won't. Okay. We don't record this at all. No. Thanks again.
Next time on Father Brown.
Aliens.
A man thinks his daughter was abducted.
Someone's trying to take her away.
But after she turns up,
she wasn't making much sense.
Her father is murdered.
Looks like the man's died of fright.
Father Brown.
Saturday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Next time. A power outage on the island is caused by an electrocution.
Death would have been instantaneous.
The victim was stealing electricity, but Neville has a question.
Why wasn't he wearing his insulation gloves?
Death in Paradise.
Saturday night at 8 on Arizona PBS.
Austin City Limits presents Role Model. And MJ Lenderman and the Wind.
Saturday at 11 on Arizona PBS.
Skugta, Shaniana Chigig, Kalen Allen. Since the 1770s, the Gila River has drastically changed, notably with the removal of our water through settlers coming in and diverting our water upstream. Since time immemorial, the Akimel O'odham saw Kuriakimel, the Gila River, as our lifeblood. It represented agriculture, our trade with other tribes, as well as our artistry, as many basketry materials were found here. The Akimel O'odham created innovative canal systems. These canals diverted water from the river into individual family farming plots. Because of the loss of our river, all of our fish species that were once in the Gila River are gone. This includes suckerfish, pike minnows, pupfish, and carps. There are 8 MARs across the Gila River Indian community. MARs stand for Managed Aquifer Recharge Sites, and these are composed of water from the Gila River, Central Arizona Project water, and just a myriad of different water sources that are then pumped back into select areas on the community. I believe that the restoration of our river is the ultimate path of resilience. As a sovereign and leading tribal nation, we now have the ability and means to make these changes that we want to see for our community members and for our reservation.
Just this year, the Arizona Department of Health Services reported 63 cases of West Nile virus, which is the leading mosquito-borne illness in the U.S. And with rain hitting the valley this week, Arizona should prepare for an increase in mosquito activity. For more on how this may impact Arizona residents is John Townsend, Vector Control Division Manager for Maricopa County. John, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So this is going to sound like a silly question to start. All of us know what mosquitoes are. We can look at mosquito bites, but how difficult or easy is it to actually spot a mosquito and identify it?
Well, we have several different kinds. So we have nighttime biting mosquitoes that you should worry about, and then we have daytime biting mosquitoes that really are more of a nuisance, but they can sure, ruin the party.
Well, because it makes it, the reason I ask such a silly question is because sometimes in my backyard, I'll get a bite and it'll be on my leg area, and I'm thinking, was that a mosquito or could that have been a fire ant of some sort? Is it pretty easy to identify what a mosquito bite is?
Yeah, and everybody's experiencing these mosquitoes that bite around the feet and ankles, and those are mosquitoes that were imported here about 25 years ago. We didn't have them before that, and they breed right in people's backyards. They're container breeders. They prefer human blood as their blood meal. They're really adapted to living around people.
Are those the ones that carry West Nile? Is that a different?
No, those are associated, they can be associated with dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika, those types of things. But the West Nile, which everybody talks about, are the nighttime biting mosquitoes, and they pick that virus up from the birds.
So we know, I've lived here for 40 years, we know that this is usually a dry place, and this was almost a very dry monsoon until we got into September. Had about 4 straight days of rain, if I'm remembering correctly, in certain areas of the valley. So is it just as simple, John, that this week's a rainy week and we're just going to see more mosquitoes because of that?
Well, in part. We also have a drop in temperatures, so that's gonna help us out, because these daytime biting floodwater mosquitoes, once those temperatures at night get down around 50 degrees, the eggs that have been laid all over the place won't be hatching out.
Okay.
They won't be hatching out until next spring.
Well, that's good news, because I was actually going to ask you if we needed to have some kind of hard freeze, which obviously we get fairly rarely here, but so 50 degrees is helpful. 50
degrees for the floodwaters, that'll keep those eggs from hatching out. It doesn't help with the nighttime biters unless you do have a freeze.
Okay. Let's go back to the backyard, because I'm one of those people. I have a very small backyard, but we did plant a winter lawn, so which I know in Phoenix is not a great idea, but we did, and it's a very small plot of land. And yet we have noticed, because over the last week or so, a little extra watering, we've noticed just like that. I guess I'm going to ask how quickly mosquitoes can start to make trouble, and what's their average lifespan?
For these floodwaters, take a cup of water like that. If that's sitting out in your backyard, those mosquitoes, once they take a blood meal and have to lay their eggs again, they'll lay the eggs right around the edge of where that water line is. So it'll evaporate and go away, but you'll have this ring of eggs. And that's for a low depression, that's for a dog dish, that's for a bucket of water, that's for anything. So the next time water comes in contact with those eggs and it fills back up, that's the starting point. And about a week after that happens, if there was 1,000 eggs in that bucket, 1,000 mosquitoes will go through their life cycle, hatch out, and they'll all be coming for you if you're out in the backyard to get another blood meal so that they can go back to that same spot and lay more eggs for the next time around.
Wow, okay. Let's talk about complaints. Have you been getting a lot more of them, and did they start in September? And also, what can the county actually do when people call in and they're concerned?
Yeah, it did. We probably had about 1,500 complaints, before September. We're up to over 6,000 right now. So yeah, we've had a lot of complaints. What we do is we go out, we investigate the area, look for any kind of breeding sites. We have over 850 surveillance traps that we set every single week. So we're collecting mosquitoes from all over the county. We bring those back to our lab and then sort them out. So we have the different species of mosquitoes, and then those nighttime biters, we'll separate those out and test those for West Nile and St. Louis encephalitis.
Okay. So do the sites vary? And do you decide based on what activity you've seen? And just for folks who might be going out for a walk, what do the traps look like?
They're a carbon dioxide trap. We hang them usually in a tree or someplace up kind of, a little bit higher. They have gas that's released from dry ice. And so dry ice comes out. That attracts the mosquitoes because carbon dioxide, every time you take a breath, you're giving out CO2. Okay. That's the attractant that makes the mosquitoes come to you. So we do the same thing with these traps, and then it has a fan and a net, and as they're thinking that they're going to come around and get a blood meal, it sucks them down into the net, and then we take them back and test them.
I'm going to end very quick question here. Is it possible, I'm someone who likes to eat a lot of fruit. I've been told that makes me sweeter to the mosquitoes. Is that true or false?
I can't confirm or deny that. Okay. I know I've heard stories about people that drink beer that they like people that drink beer too. So I don't know if that's
okay. Good to see you, John. Thanks.
Yep.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, the Justice Department comes under more scrutiny for how it's handling the James Comey case. That's at 6 on Arizona PBS.
Stacks on Polk is a new 19-unit apartment complex made entirely of recycled shipping containers. By manufacturing and exporting containers from Hermosillo, Mexico, Tudo Capital was able to lower construction costs and make the housing more affordable. Tonight we welcome Evan Glickman, who is the founder of Tudo Capital. Evan, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we don't have visuals with us, so I'm going to ask you to just the most basic question. For people who can't quite picture what a shipping container looks like and then when it gets turned into a place people can live, can you give us an idea of how big it is, what it's made out of?
Yeah, so for Stacks on Polk, we marry shipping containers together. So a one bedroom is 2 containers combined lengthwise, married together there, and a 2 bedroom is 3 shipping containers. And each container is 320 square feet, so a 1 bedroom is 640 square feet, which is a pretty good size, and a 2 bedroom is 960 square feet, which is also a pretty good size for a 2 bedroom container, 2 bedroom unit.
So we mentioned Hermosillo. How much of the unit can actually be built there before it's transported? And really the question I'm asking is the interior basically done as well? Like when it's transported, it's almost done.
Yeah, as much as possible. So it comes with flooring, it comes with the tile backsplash for the kitchen, cabinetry, the toilets are installed. There's work to marry them together, so we have to run the wires across the units, across different modules. And there's obviously, we don't ship foundations, we don't ship sewer connections to the main line. But as much as we could, we did in the factory, because that was the thesis for our investment, was to do as much offsite as possible.
So for this project specifically, once it got to Phoenix, how much more time? I know it takes a lot of time in the factory. I know that it's slowed down by the pandemic. But once it actually gets to the land where you're going to have your apartments, how long does it take from there?
So we had a learning curve on this first project, which threw a big wrench into it, so we were stuck for a while. But in general, the assembly only took a few days to put them together.
Great, okay. And what sort of response have you gotten so far?
Just very, very, very varied response. So some people absolutely love it. It's a very unique aesthetic. And I've had people walking down the street that tell me it's the ugliest building they've ever seen in their whole life. But that's fine. We only have 19 units. That's all we need is people that want an industrial aesthetic. You really can't get anything like that here. People that want recycled. But it's definitely not for everybody.
So from the photos I saw, actually we're going to see some images now. I think it actually looks quite interesting. I wouldn't say I love it or hate it. It just looks sort of interesting.
Yeah, well, it's super unique. We are leaning into the industrial aesthetic. It's recycled shipping containers. We softened the edge a little bit with a lot of landscaping, with some growing vines and some judicial use of some other cosmetic improvements. But it's a very unique look. I mean, there's only a couple other container projects here in Phoenix.
So I would think that this is especially attractive because Arizona has a lot of rural parts, but it seems like in order for this to be especially effective in a place people would want to live, where you've chosen to go is a really good spot. Does that help in terms of even from infrastructure, I suppose, to make sure that, and would you hope to expand beyond the city limits eventually if things are successful?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So the limiting factor for the expansion is most likely the transportation costs. So it costs the same amount to move a container no matter what's inside of it. And so from our factory to Phoenix is relatively close by, but if you're going to the East Coast or northern states, that linear extra mile is just going to add to your base cost, and it starts getting that the math stops working after a certain distance.
So for folks who have not necessarily love the aesthetic, but like the idea of it, how much of that comes from the concept of recycled materials? And even I'm thinking generationally, are we thinking younger people who may not want the hassle of home ownership, but they're thinking this is a way to perhaps help the environment, but also do something unique and not necessarily do what my parents and grandparents did?
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. Again, I think a lot of apartment buildings that you see right now, people think are a little bit cookie cutter. So the design of new apartments is really cost driven for how people build in this location. And 30% of the exterior has to be a different material, and it has to have these variations in this way and this way. And we threw as much of that out as we basically could and came with this new idea. So it's really for, like that you said, the generational, something different, some character. This is a story. And when you're living there, you're doing something interesting as opposed to just living in another, apartment community that looks pretty much the same, no matter where you'd go.
Briefly, were there zoning challenges initially in terms of just sort of explaining to the powers that be what you were trying to do?
There weren't that many zoning challenges. So Phoenix is a business development friendly location, and we were able to navigate that. There were a lot of meetings to figure it out in the first place, but it was by right development. So I was able to tell the city and the state that I checked the right boxes, and luckily they didn't. By right development, someone has to. They couldn't stop me from building it, basically, is what I mean by that.
Gotcha. So about 30 seconds left. My last question for you. This doesn't necessarily fall into the affordable housing category, but they are less expensive than we're seeing in the market. How appealing is that to folks, and would you characterize it as affordable?
Yeah, so it's not affordable with a capital A, which it's not subsidized by the government. So that's more of a Band-Aid solution to the housing crisis problem. What we're trying to do is we're trying to attack it at the root, is reduce construction costs. And that allows us to market our units a little bit less expensive. And if enough of these are built, it'll make it more affordable for everybody.
Terrific. Evan, thanks for being here. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time. That's all for this edition of Arizona Horizon. I'm Steve Goldstein in for Ted Simons. Thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Catherine Anaya, host of Horizonte. Have you signed up for the Arizona PBS Conexión e-newsletter? Visit azpbs.org/Conexión to subscribe to the monthly resource created to serve Arizona's vibrant Hispanic community. Conexión highlights Latino-focused Arizona PBS programming and features learning resources for kids, details on upcoming events, important headlines, and a brief column from yours truly.
Next time on The American Revolution, Brandywine, Germantown, and Saratoga.
This was not just a military defeat, it was a psychological blow.
Native peoples are divided.
We're killing each other. For what?
And the strategy of a general.
Washington doesn't have to win. He only has not to lose.
When The American Revolution continues.
Tonight at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Hi, I'm Michael Keaton. Come to the Mr. Rogers neighborhood and celebrate the programs that have inspired more than 4 generations of children and parents.
It's so far beyond just entertainment.
Well-known friends share their heartfelt memories on Mr. Rogers. It's you I like.
Sunday night at 6:30 on Arizona PBS.
Mark your calendars. Tuesday, December 2nd is Giving Tuesday, a special day of philanthropy aimed at making a real impact in our community. You can double your impact with a donation to Arizona PBS on Giving Tuesday, as the station has received a match gift in memory of Ronald Thomas Lane. Whether you make a contribution to Arizona PBS on December 2nd or any other date, know that your continued support is critical and will help us continue to serve Arizonans for generations to come.
You're watching Arizona PBS.